Hey everyone, Kevin here, and welcome back to my channel. I've, rightly so, been critical of the public school system over the years since I left the profession because the problems are numerous, to put it mildly. From the lack of support, draconian measures, weaponized evaluation system, no respect for autonomy, well, you get the idea. But I think I haven't been entirely fair on some things, or at least haven't described my feelings on them with enough grace. So to start, I think it's easy to take away from my videos and the stories from millions of other educators who quit in the last 6 years that absolutely no one supports us and everyone is instead out to get us. Which is why I want to say up front, no, not every person out there disrespects us. Not every single administrator is outright bad at their job or beats us down just because they can or due to some arrogant power trip. Not every parent treats us with disdain or like we're their professional babysitters. And no, not all students assault us on a daily basis either. There are a lot of people from all aspects of education who are honestly really great and who made it a fulfilling job even when it was rapidly becoming a dead end job, like I've said in another video. The people who do treat us well are becoming an ever diminishing minority, and with how many teachers have left since the start of the pandemic in 2020, that should show you the strain teachers are now functioning under and how we feel scapegoated for the majority of educational issues now, even when we have nothing to do with them. Even with those few good people, though, there is a culture of disrespect in education at all levels, and that's become the norm that is forcing all of the good quality teachers to search for careers outside of the classroom. And that disrespect can indeed come from administration, parents, and students alike. But as I've said countless times since I quit in April 2022, administrators are the underlying problem now. Their bad conduct still remains and always will be my number one reason for leaving the profession. Literally, my last day in the classroom involved a meeting with my principal and assistant principal where they gaslit me to high heaven and blamed two fires and a fist fight in my classroom on me and my classroom management, even when I wasn't there for two of those three events, and there had been fires set elsewhere on campus they neglected to tell us about or take accountability for. No one received any repercussions for that either, by the way. My point, though, is that most administrators have this superiority complex when they take on the role, even when they have absolutely zero educational experience. You have no idea how many administrators now come into education from somewhere else, or have never been teachers, or haven't taught in like 15 years and are completely oblivious to the realities of modern classrooms and the needs of current educators to deal with those realities. It's honestly why the evaluations I mentioned earlier are so derided by teachers now because they're a joke. Admin walk through at random times or evaluate you once or twice a year, give you some feedback which is often destructive rather than constructive, and then just leave in a huff. And they often have no clue what they're even talking about half the time because they were never teachers themselves. That or they went into admin as early as they could to escape the classroom. But therein lies another issue: the teachers who did move into admin. Now, it's always been true that just because you are a good teacher doesn't mean you make a good administrator, because you may be able to manage kids and exam scores well, but have no ability to manage adults, which is kind of important. The problem we're running into now, though, is that most of those who are admin these days and did move up from the classroom were actually terrible teachers rather than those good ones. In my first year of teaching, one of my assistant principals was a failed teacher, and everyone always commented on how she literally couldn't teach to save her life. She was in the classroom for, I think, 2 years before getting out and becoming an administrator, a job, mind you, which she was also terrible at. Not only functionally, but because she couldn't handle the criticisms or concerns of the teachers. And that actually relates back to what I said at the beginning, where I realized I hadn't given enough grace on something, and this is a big part of that. Administrators, even the good ones, are the easiest target of frustration from the teaching staff because we need someone to vent our anger to, and it's often them, just like how teachers are often the vent point for parents and those who think education is just spinning the tubes. Conflict management is a skill that most administrators don't have, which is heavily contributing to that culture of disrespect toward teachers which exists now. I mean, you could never have paid me enough money to be an admin, with all of the politics and other duties that entailed. It's not a job most of us would want, but it is still an important one that must be done. And I did work with some good administrators who could do that job well. Most notably, the assistant principal I worked remotely with while we were on COVID distance learning, actually. She was great and trusted me. Plus, her evaluations were fair, but she was the minority of admin I worked with. They certainly do exist, and I don't think I've given the good ones who are trying their best enough credit. Besides, I've barely even talked about the lack of respect from students who aren't given boundaries at home by their parents, and those same parents who make our lives difficult. But the argument cuts both ways here, too. I interacted with many great parents and lovely students. I actually ran into one of my former students from last year just the other day, and they're a senior now, amazingly, and their parents are two of the good ones as well. But dealing with not only a lack of respect from above with administrators, but below from students, and to the side from parents, is a big part that's burning out educators every day. All that disrespect wasn't the only thing that drove us into other careers, but it's become so ingrained in the system that educators are feeling isolated, alone, and that their perfectly valid frustrations are seen as nothing more than petty criticisms or complaints. Think of a job where your boss treated you poorly like this, never listened to you, and actively gave you feedback that made you feel less than the person you were before getting it. And you'll understand how teachers feel now. You probably left that job when it got to a breaking point, and the same goes for teachers. We needed bosses who wanted to be there and help us grow rather than tear us down. And education is almost exclusively becoming the latter. So, no, not everyone treats teachers badly like we can sometimes make it out to be, but it is still nonetheless accelerating the pace of teachers leaving, and that's really hurting the foundation of our educational system. Well, guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you could drop below and leave a like or quick subscribe, I and the algorithm would greatly appreciate that. But for now, I've been Kevin, and I will see you in the next video.